Assurance inclusive, les leçons à retenir.
C'est parti. Des comptes.
Assurance inclusive, les leçons à retenir.
Assurance inclusive.
Inclusive insurance lessons to be learned. Thank you. Thank you for being with us and following us on this Casablanca Insurance Days. And obviously, we are now about to start a panel of 4 presentations on inclusive insurance. I would like to wish them a welcome. Mr. Richard Law, thank you, and welcome, and thank you for being with us. Can you hear me, sir? Dick Reinhardt, are you with us? Dick Reinhardt? Mr. Dick Reinhardt? And Mamiko Yokorai from OECD. I hope you can hear us. I don't know where you are based. I don't know where now you are based, ma'am. And where's the region you are based now? Where are you based now, Mamiko? Je suis à Paris. Ah, excellent. Bah, tellement proche de Casablanca, après tout, hein? Un jet d'avion. Mr. Driss Marawi, I think you are in the very heart of Casablanca in your offices. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Tommy. Good afternoon, each and everyone. Thank you for being with us. I will start with you, Mr. the President of Activa. I hope that you can hear me and the connection is good. You are, I'm going to say it my way, you are one of the most seasoned insurance-related expert in Africa with this dual hat, the boss of a multinational in your country, but quite obviously also you are the founding chair of Activa, a very important group which is Pan-African. Am I right in what I'm saying? You're right. You are very friendly, more than you understand only. You are very friendly. I'd like and welcome you and greet you. Where are you based in Cameroon, sir? I'm in Douala. I'm currently in Douala, Cameroon. Very nice city. I really like it. Well, the question of inclusion we're talking about today, because inclusive insurance, what lessons, what education can we draw? I'd like and pick your mind on this and the capacity to push the envelope, the classical envelope in your experience, in your group, and maybe start with you on an important topic, the very concept of education of population to insurance. What can you share with us in this regard, sir? Well, thank you. Thank you for your kind invitation. And once again, hats off for your organization and for showing the resilience, Morocco showing the resilience that allows us to, in part, distantly maintain this important Rendez-vous de Casablanca Insurance Days. One or two things to really showcase the importance of this inclusive insurance. First, penetration rate-wise. We all know that the penetration rate of insurance on the continent, if we exclude South Africa and Mauritius, hovers around 6-7%. When we come back in the CIMA area where we operate, it is around 3%, and it's even lower rate if we think only of individual risks. Now, the first datum, the second datum is this low rate. Rightly so, about the populations in terms of individuals' risks will be more and more important because of the demographic pressure in Africa, which is highest over the last years, and this certainly is going to continue. Second, inclusive insurance. Talking about the inclusive insurance, mechanically we assimilate that, we liken that to the necessity to provide to low-income individuals the insurance services, even if the last recent events born out of the COVID has shown that even for companies and corporations, we may find ourselves in a situation where there's a lack of insurance. I think a speaker this morning was talking, be it cyber risk or also damage and loss of operation, have talking about. But because of time being of the essence, I'm going to talk about the individual risks in terms of inclusive insurance. So these are persons, individuals who are virtually excluded from the very concept of insurance and towards which we have to go. So there is a dual challenge for the insurers. We ask ourselves the question as to whether this population with a low income is a population for which our activity may prove to be profitable. Second, do we have the statistical data in an adequate way in order to propose bespoke products that are tailored to the needs of that very important, which is going to be even more important target. The other side, the other challenge is the members of this population who do not know or not at all the insurance and who are going to ask themselves, is insurance going to help me in any way? We all know that insurance is this technique or process that makes it to mitigate, to alleviate the shock waves or the risks that we are suffering on an everyday basis. And in this respect, help fight in poverty. Education, you were talking about education, is very important. It is very important to be convinced and assured that a population who is not sensitive to the notion of insurance, who is going to be more important, a population that will be asking itself about the necessity to be insured, but also we need to really maintain that. We need to educate. We need to raise their awareness, not only by really selling them products. The education of people is first start with explaining the very notion, the very concept of insurance. What is it for? What does it help in terms of security and safety nets? So this is about selling the notion and how the insurance constitutes a lever and safety net. And even after sensitizing, it's only after sensitizing these population that we'll be able to design insurance policies that are meeting their needs. I would like to ask you the following question, sir, directly, since you're calling us on the topic. First, can we make bespoke products? You were talking a moment ago about the fact that the very concept or notion of inclusion relates mostly to the low or very low income walks of the population. But this morning we were also saying that maybe it is intended to persons who geographically cannot really understand the very concepts of insurance. Now, can we make any products? Can we offer products like that? And according to your experience, does it really call for a level of engineering which is specific to package up and to design products that are adapted to that need? Thank you for this question. Yes. We should not only address this kind of population or walk population in terms of product, but rather in terms of solutions to problems that we would have been able to identify as part of their activities. If you give me time, I'm going to give you an example. Well, insurance. In the field of insurance, for the last 4 years, we really are part of that approach. To give you, by way of example, 2 or 3, which we have launched in Activa. The first dates back in 2018. We launched Makala, as we called it, a product. It's a small individual occupational insurance or accidents insurance for the populations with very low income, those who are driving mopeds, taxis, persons who don't even have a car, and who are exposed to risks of accidents in their daily activities. We've designed it in partnership with a large telecom operator, which we called Makala. Why Makala? Because Makala is the in Cameroon, which is a rice which is accessible to the most disadvantaged classes, and our actors and the market sold this at $1. Why $1? Because this price corresponds to one price of a beer. Cameroon is very famous, apart from sports and many other things, our capacity to be drinkers and to really appreciate the benefits and the joys of beer. So we tell them, for the price of one beer, you have the guarantee that this product gives you. First example. A second example that we have also launched in 2019 in partnership with IFC, International Financial Corporation, the private arm of the World Bank, is an approach, more than a product, an approach that allowed us to consider women as the strong link of decision making in respect to insurance. We've designed these concepts which relates to women at all their levels of their activity, be it low income women, those who go to a market bayamsala, as we call it, open sky markets, to whom we proposed a product which is compatible to their activity and to their incomes. It's a small product of insurance, health insurance, individual health insurance, whose premium is $10 per month, which allows them to have access to a certain number of healthcare services, and also an individual accidents risk coverage, because in their merchants activities they can be exposed to such risks. And this is the first class. The intermediate class is the women entrepreneurs, and studies have shown that women in Africa are much more prone to entrepreneuring than men. And Cameroon is certainly set an example. Thank you, Tammy, for saying that. Yeah, and in this entrepreneurial spirit, of course, we have allowed women to work on the basis of a platform, and we've designed a process, a savings product that allow these women, entrepreneur women, to make savings and thrift in the first place. And after that, we make them with an incubator of startups who would train them, guide them, support them, and during which time we also give them a legal assistance guarantee that we've put in place with one of our reinsurers. So much so that at the end of the savings and training process, these women entrepreneurs would be able to have made a thrift or a savings to allow them to have a bank credit that will allow them to start their activity. And the last example in the agricultural ag insurance. The ag insurance world in sub-Saharan Africa is totally outside of some examples like Senegal, is not really penetrated by the insurance. And still with the IFC, our partner, we've decided since last year to initiate the ag insurance in Cameroon. We started with 500 cotton growers that we've put into cooperatives to whom we have talked about the climate risks to which their activity is exposed. And I can tell you that it's a long-term work, and we are bent on continuing that. So these are some examples of the product. Thank you. These are topics and subjects that showcase the inclusion and showcase the fact that when we help population through insurance to save, to have access to credit, so in a way we help them fly up their own wings and cause their activities to thrive. One very last question, if I may. Very brief, and I would like you please to really give me a brief answer. And at the end of the day, while offering such insurance or efforts like this, is it profitable? I can tell you that it is absolutely, for us, profitable. Some obstacles certainly need to be raised. One or two things. First is the importance of regulation. We need to see the regulator also support this movement by alleviating, unburdening the process microinsurance for telephony, digitalization insurance, the bank insurance activities. We have to really alleviate and unburden that. In our public powers must have an incentive tax policy. The insurance premiums, both individual disease insurance and health insurance, but also in agricultural risk, that must be unfiscalized, and there should be no taxes paid on it. It is the question of level of premiums. If it's full tax premiums, well, it means we have to remove the VAT on them. And also development bodies. We have to bring development bodies and development agencies to work with us on the ag insurance. How to design a system for a partial payment of such costs that are incurred by the growers who are also working in cash crops. And today, someone was talking about the climate risk this morning, but they are going to be more and more important, the climate. And the agricultural world is fully exposed to it. If we do nothing to allow the insurance to do and perform their insurance job, well, we'll be headed against the wall. Now, our public powers, our partners in development, it is absolutely a must. It is a long-term fight. Well, thank you very much. Well, we would keep in mind that it is preferable. We need to also involve the regulators, the state and international organization in order to see to it that this logic of inclusive insurance also contribute to the development. Remain with us, Mr. Richard Lowe, and I'm going to give the floor to Dick Renard. You are Vice President of the Munich Re. I would like to thank you. And why are you given this very important to this question of inclusive insurance?
First of all, I would like to say that I'm extremely honored to be able to take part in this conference in Morocco, and I'm delighted and honored to be on a panel with such distinguished personalities. And unfortunately, the current COVID-19 crisis has prevented me from being in Morocco with you, but I hope that I will be able to travel to Morocco soon. So why is inclusive insurance important for Munich Re? Well, first of all, insurance plays an extremely important role for sustainable economic development. So obviously, when people start businesses, they take risks. And as such, this is why it's important. I mean, as such, insurance becomes unaffordable for SMEs and micro businesses, and so climate change has also come to exacerbate the risks for these businesses. And in Africa, for example, well, most people depend on agricultural income. And as it's already been mentioned, there are several barriers, such as the availability of insurance solutions. Not many insurers, in fact, can develop products for low-income populations. What is necessary is to conduct studies and conduct research on the markets, and it's important to show that there is an interesting market for the insurance business. This segment can indeed be profitable. It is true that is not always the case, especially if we talk about climate risks. So it's important to show that this is a business case for insurers. It's important for there to be trust in the insurance business. Products do need to be created that prove that there is an added value for customers. And the reason why we believe this is important for the foundation is that we believe that all partners need to contribute to the development to the development of the market, and these include governments, insurers, actual scientists, and we need to create a synergy amongst all of us to find sustainable products. So you were mentioning that this is a business case for insurers, and so clearly this is a complex business case. Yes, it is a complex business case, but there are very profitable examples. Some are indeed a little more complex. For example, agricultural insurance, health insurance, and for for these segments, governments need to work with insurance companies to find solutions. So what are the main obstacles that we need to overcome in these situations? So I had already mentioned a few examples, or mentioned the fact that there's an issue with regarding the lack of data, namely data on climate-related data. So today there is an issue. There's a regulatory issue as well. And so the regulatory framework is not very clear in certain markets. And sometimes insurance companies need to reach out to the telecommunications regulator, to the central bank, the insurance regulator, and especially when it comes to digital products. Here, the regulators aren't responsive enough to develop, to create an environment that is conducive to new products and that can spearhead innovation. So I was just a few moments ago, I was interviewing our colleague from Canada, the president of the Global Federation of Insurance Associations, and he was saying that you are right, the insurance companies are sort of are maybe a little slow to move forward and lack flexibility. So could you give us some insight on what you think is necessary to develop inclusive insurance? So I believe what's necessary, in fact, we do have examples such as the Philippines, where we developed a national strategy for the development of the insurance market. And so this strategy focuses on an interaction and collaboration between the government and insurance companies. And as such, it is extremely important to have a strategy that involves all stakeholders. And it's important to show patience. I mean, obviously, the insurance market will not develop overnight. It will take a couple of years, all the way up to 5 years. So as such, it's extremely important to have a national strategy. So thank you very much. I will jump over to our third speaker, Mamiko Yukoi. All right, thank you for being here.
So you are representative from ECD. Maybe my first question is, how does penetration levels of insurance remain low in most markets, despite all the efforts from given by various organizations worldwide?
Yes, I think low.
Oui, je pense que les pénétrations faibles sont un problème en termes d'assurance, étant donné que nous avons remarqué effectivement que les personnes qui ont accès à l'assurance est limité. Et je pense que c'est dû à un manque de sensibilisation et de communication. J'ai évoqué cette question profondément avec les personnes et les collègues qui travaillent dans les finances sur comment communiquer sur la couverture politique, etc. Et sa réponse est probablement...
The policy language in itself doesn't really lend itself too well to being translated into sort of a communication document that improves from what there is already being provided. So therefore, then the question becomes, well, if you don't have enough penetration, the risk pooling, which is the foundation of insurance, you cannot be assured, because then you have a vicious cycle in which the affordability of the product is also compromised. So it is really a critical issue. And I think a lot of people are working on it. And not that I have any really answers to it, unfortunately, but I think it is an issue that we need to continue to work on, because without better penetration and better understanding of the benefits of insurance, I don't think the sort of benefits of insurance will really be conveyed as widely to the economy and society as I think us as people who work, experts who work in the insurance sector really hope for. So that's one of the things that I am critically concerned of, in particular for small and medium-sized enterprises and retail policyholders.
But we know that the impact is always positive for that.
Well, I don't know if there is a better penetration, of course, I think the impact will be positive. Now, maybe I'll just turn to some of the ways in which penetration could be improved.
Yes, I want to talk with you about how we can increase that penetration. And the main issue is access. How digitalization can play a role to help a better access to insurance, but not only to insurance in a classical way. We have heard from Mr. Lowe about that, but also all the services that are associated to that.
Yes, yes. So this is, I think, with the big data and artificial intelligence, the possibility of better data analytics is really bringing a lot of benefits to, underwriting practices. So this is one aspect. But obviously, I think for retail policyholders, the real benefit is having, for example, personal devices and easier access, and also being able to tailor your product so that it's more matched to you. This could be in terms of the coverage that is provided, the terms. I think there are various, and there are now a lot of innovative products that are being offered, in particular in emerging markets. And I know that there's a couple of startups that are operating in the African continent in particular that have been really successful in, for example, providing health insurance. And this would really be a big benefit because, for example, hospitalization costs can really incur a sudden and unexpected expense to households. And so this sort of flexibility, because obviously I think one of the ultimate sort of hopes you have in terms of having big data and AI is to obviously decrease the transaction cost of insurance and therefore bringing down the price of insurance. And so this is another important consideration, I think. I mean, unfortunately, there are downsides to having more big data. For example, if big data or just data in general, there's more granular data, I think this could lead to particular communities being excluded. I think the best known example is actually postcodes, for example. So particular postcodes could be excluded as a result of the more granular data that is available. And this could result in exclusion, in fact. And so these could be troubling sort of situations as a result of digitalization. So I think it is important to try and balance the real opportunities that are being presented to really offer more sort of selection in terms of the product lines, but also really looking at the risks that might be presented as well. And then I guess the regulator should also think of a response that corresponds to that, not going over the board, but really sort of trying to attract more innovation, I think, in the sector.
Mrs. Mamiko, Yoko, we are talking about digitalization and how it can give better access to insurance solutions, if I may use that word. But how can this data and parametric insurance provide greater opportunities at the retail level as well?
Yeah, so parametric insurance has been used, I think, in particular in the agriculture insurance sector. And I think, so for example, also the Caribbean regional insurance, they also use a parametric approach for catastrophic risks. And this has really provided a lot of dividends. Obviously, this is opposed to the indemnity-based approach of insurance, which will basically try to cover the losses as much as possible based on the coverage levels. But parametric insurance has a lot of benefits in terms of how insurance is expected to respond, in terms of being quick, being very clear in the triggers that actually sort of induce the payments. And I think there will be much more interest in trying to provide parametric insurance in a retail context or a more SME context. I think the key example that, I mean, in the OECD and some of the countries that we've been sort of having discussions, policy discussions around has been the business interruption related to pandemic risk, because a lot of small businesses have been, they have a property insurance coverage, but business interruption doesn't cover non-physical damage. And so a lot of the solutions that are coming up, I mean, obviously there's an element of a public and private partnership element, but in addition to that, there is a lot of parametric insurance because pandemic risk in itself is considered to be not possible to insure by the private insurance of it in itself.
Thank you very much. You are Mamiko Yoko, Principal Administrator and Head of Insurance. Thank you. Please stay with us. Maybe we're going to have some, maybe one or two questions from the attendees to this conference for all of you. Driss Bradawi, merci de votre patience et merci de venir.
Drisarawi, thank you for your patience. You are General Delegate Manager, General Delegate Manager of Wafa Assurance. So I guess you know the digital world and the insurance world. So I like to be very forefront and ask you the question: the micro insurance in Morocco in the framework of financial inclusion. We spoke about it this morning. Do you want to share your experience? Where are we at this point? Thank you very much, Mr. Hofi, for this very interesting introduction. I also want to thank the wholeheartedly the Federation of Moroccan Insurance and Reinsurance for inviting me to this forum and webinar. So I wish to share with you the experience of the Wafa Insurance group in the micro insurance. So what we talk about micro insurance, so inclusive insurance, is has been going on for some time within our group. For 2013, it was not born just overnight. But more importantly, with the arrival of the National Strategy of Insurance inclusion, we kind of became fond and keen of the project, and we paved the way for a much more aggressive strategy. If I may, I'd like to share with you the purpose of doing that. Why did we do it, and what is our strategy, and what are our ambitions? In terms of strategy, the micro insurance is a very important brick, as important as all other bricks. In other words, micro savings does need microcredit. Microcredit needs and does need micro savings. So both need micro insurance. They need money transfer and money wires, and all this is a building block and a consistent whole and complete blocks where all the bricks will fit in and be intertwined. So I'm not going to dwell on the details, but I'd like to highlight the fact that way beyond the fact that the microinsurer does nourish other breaks, but in general, as a self-entrepreneur, for him to take more risks and for him to invest more, he does need microinsurance. In this regard, we can consider that microinsurance can be a real booster, a scaler up, an engine to really encourage self-entrepreneurs to take more risk, and in other words, to develop their business at the benefit of their family and the development of their countries. So within Wafa Answer Insurance, we have a very strong ambition here. We want to become leader in this field. We want to be a locomotive and a major player, and the experience has showed it. As I said earlier, we've had in the past, and have so far almost 400,000 Moroccans covered. And what I mean 400,000 Moroccans, I mean families that really embrace the microinsurance as we have described it before. Could you please repeat the figure, please? 400,000 families. And our ambition is to reach up to 1 million by 2023. And in order to achieve this figure, we're going to trigger a series of leverages and engines that I will talk about very happily. So, well, by the way, what are the locomotives and what are the success factors and key factors to succeed in this universe? Well, you asked a question on the products, and my apologies if I'm going to speak more about the products and solutions. But you're absolutely right. And the speaker before is absolutely right when he spoke about solutions. So microfinance is not, I'm not going to talk the downsizing and the very fact of copy pasting the classical incumbent and traditional insurance simply by dropping the prices. That is not about micro insurance. Microinsurance is about a philosophy, a mindset, a state of mind, a new concept that is totally different. Let me start with the offer, if I may. The offer, as we well know it in the insurance, classical insurance systems, is distributed through brokers and classical brokers and agents, but also by the bank insurance. But in order for a solution of micro solution to really reach out to the final and end customer and the insured, it has to be very simple and down to earth for two main reasons. Why? Because first, distributors are not specialists of the insurance. So in order to convey the message to the end customer, the solution needs to be extremely simple and very understandable and down to earth. But let us not forget that this population group is not knowledgeable about these products, insurance products. These are common people that really need to understand and gain understanding of those offers and products. This is why the offer has to be extremely simple and easy to understand. And by the way, the solutions that we market, namely OPSEC in insurance products, these are mainly products that the customer can buy over the counter with expiry date, immediate expiry date, without having to bring any justification or paperwork or whatever he would need on his own medical records. In other words, this is extremely simple to underwrite, but also extremely simple in terms of compensation, because we're only request from him one single paper, and payment can be done over the national territory and from any corner of the country. So as you see, there are ingredients of simplicity and down to earth and downsizing that is part of the philosophy that I spoke about earlier. Last question, and I'll ask you for a very brief question. I have one question from the public that I would like to share with you, please. So Wafa Insurance is a company that is present in other countries of the continent with a great business appetite and a real strategy. Does it compel you to be in the forefront of innovation, at a cutting edge of innovation? So is this insurance inclusion right enshrined in your DNA, as you spoke before? So how do you do that? Well, as I said before, this is a very strong strategy that was started and kicked off in the Moroccan territory that we are also implementing in all other countries where we are present. Of course, the implementation, we're going to be doing it with local competences and skills and knowledge and know-how. And the contribution of Wafa Insurance Maroc or Morocco will be on the know-how transfer. So kind of adapting to the local demand and regulation combined to the experience of Wafa Assurance Maroc that will allow us, and I may just make an announcement, last week we have launched in Tunisia through our subsidiary, very much the same concept, and that we are also paving the way to implement these schemes in Côte d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, in Senegal, and anytime soon in Tunisia in a couple of months, hopefully. So we do have a very strong ambition to move forward, a continental ambition, I would say, in all present in countries where we have broken in. So this is exactly what you said. So all the players, states, private sector, insurance companies, financial institutions, they all need to get together to provide with new customers and new products. So a last question, when we do innovation and we create inclusive innovation, do we actually take the risk to kind of overshadow products or cannibalize products that you already have in your basket of products? Well, actually, we're not taking risks because in the marketplace, there is room for all solutions. But let's say it very bluntly and honestly, these populations have not access at all to any product. And this is at the benefit of our national strategy, of our country. And this is something that we are very strongly committed in and engaged in. Thank you very much to the four of you for this incredible contribution to this first panel. Thank you so very much to all of you for this insightful comments. Let's meet in 5 minutes for the second panel. See you in a minute.